This is a Tenebrionid beetle from Frigate Island in the Seychelles, and it is endemic only on this one small island in the Indian Ocean. I've been to London Zoo to see what they're doing to help save this creature should the island ever get affected by some sort of natural disaster. Thank you for inviting Discover Animals here to come and speak to you about this very particular project that's running here at the zoo and is vital also for Frigate Island in the Seychelles. Can you explain a few things to me about what it is that you're doing here that's so vital?
Well, we're helping the effort for these wonderful beetles, and they are amazing animals, to ensure that they have a secure conservation breeding population off the island, just in case the worst happens. Like the catalyst for that was when brown rats became a problem way back in the 90s, and we were asked if we could help set up a kind of conservation breeding effort, not least to understand the reproduction and the longevity of the beetles, etc. Not much was known, so we were very happy to help with that. And over the years, that's developed into a multi institution breeding effort. So we try and ensure that for the long term there is a conservation pool available of for these beetles.
So exactly how rare are these beetles?
Well, they're only found on Frigate Islands, so just by their very nature they have an incredibly restricted range in nature. Probably had a wider range many years ago, but that's all lost. So as far as we know, they're only now found on that single island. So you are vulnerable if you're just in one place. They were very threatened when the rat problem presented. Fortunately, fantastic efforts by all concerned got that sorted out. But at that time, they were considered to be critically endangered under the IUCN threat categories. With the management on the island being so thorough, that's been downgraded now to vulnerable, which is nice. So it's nice to see a healthier picture developing for a species. That said, you still need to have a good attention to how they're doing, both in nature and ensuring the conservation breeding group can continue to serve its role. So you can never be complacent, but it is heartening that they are in a better place than they were 25 years ago. And you can see there's one with a red mark on its back. That's not a genetic aberration, it's just us marking the separate generations as they emerge.
So what has been your personal involvement with the project?
Well, I've been involved with it from the beginning, back 25 years ago now, when we were first asked, because we had done a lot of work with invertebrates for a long time, so we were more than happy to do that. So it's just been heartening to see that they have established, we've managed to keep them going and to disseminate them to other collections. So like you don't have all your eggs in one basket, so there are 8 different holding collections in Europe now looking after the beetles, and a very close working relationship with conservation colleagues on the island as well, which is a very well managed environment and a lot of effort. So providing that all continues, then hopefully it looks fairly positive for the beetle. But like I said, when you're in one place, you're always vulnerable. And if you layer down on that now climate change and how that may be affecting temperature dynamics and things, invertebrates can often be very sensitive to these things. So again, it's something else to look at as well. It's not just invasive species as what might be happening, certainly looking forward in terms of temperature stresses and extreme weather events, etc. So you always need to be mindful of what might be coming up in terms of stresses that species may be facing. And everything on an island is like a microcosm. It's nothing different to what the whole world's facing, but it's just very concentrated when you're on an island. So they have a lot of lessons to show us, not just in beetle conservation, but how things are going in terms of nature, the actual state of nature and what's involved in its health. And that is all of these things, so everything's connected.
You have been to the Seychelles?
No, although I feel as if I have. An actual day with the Beetles is almost as good, I'm quite sure. But also very close relationships with Seychelles colleagues, be they the actual natural history groups or the governmental agencies, and of course Frigate Island Private. So you don't need to be there when you've got such a good working relationship. And as I said, ZSL's help some of the field work in terms of helping to financially support it and do some of the collaborative research projects as well.
So currently you're working on a project to be able to provide the public with a better chance to see and possibly experience these beetles.
Yes, one of the nice things about the beetles is that they have a fascinating story to tell. So it's nice if they can help to spread the word for conservation of invertebrates and all the kind of stories around that. So we are making a new exhibit facility for them, which gives them really precise humidity and temperature requirements, but also lets people see the actual wondrous species that they are. They really help us a lot because they climb the trees, so that's great. They're not always hiding away. So they are wonderful beetles. So it's nice if one can help to actually spread their story. And it's a common story around the world. We deal with species which are facing very similar threats, and again, they are one of the few species that get the conservation assistance. So they are telling the story of many other species that would never probably get the benefit of such concerted help.
Can you explain a little bit about the idiosyncrasies of this particular beetle?
Well, yeah, they are one of maybe the largest Tenebrionid beetle, that group of beetles. Very interesting history. No one quite knows what their original wide range was. They're only found on this one island, Frigate Island. Interesting life history. They live quite a long time. We've found that they can live probably up to 7 years, maybe even a bit longer. They said that they mimic spiders to keep them safe from birds, but it's really difficult to say. But they do have a kind of a spidery type look, perhaps. Very strong. If you try and get them off the branch they're on, you certainly have a bit of a struggle. And they're great climbers. They tend to cluster together, so they're quite social things as well. They're really quite sweet as far as a Tenebrionid beetle goes.
As well as visiting London Zoo, I will also shortly be heading to Frigate Island itself. So I will be able to see the work that the naturalists and the environmental team are doing there on the island. So that's going to be another video coming up in a few weeks' time. So please look out for that. It's going to be well worth it, I can assure you. There's lots of other interest on that island too. More to come in the future. See you soon.